Alright, let's go and explore a little bit what else we can do with those custom animator brushes. And to start, I will load another AVI file. It's actually one we've worked with before, but I've converted it to 640 by 360. And let's open that AVI as a new animation. So we have here a total of 224 frames coming in a nice slow twirling rotation mode. One thing that we notice is that there is not a whole lot of color, and first thing I'll do is I'll change that by adding a little bit of a color transition over the animation. Initially I'll make it look like a little bit more reddish and then turn into a bluish dark. That sometimes helps a lot in giving it some depth. Initially, if you have it red and bright and then dark to blue towards the end, it will look like it's fading away to the background. So let's go to the animation and timeline, and then in here, one thing I'll do is simply look for where we can add color or do some color adjustment. If we add color, if we do the color adjustment, I think it's a multiply. If we add color, we can actually subtract the color. So we can add more red or we can reduce the red. And that's exactly what we'll do here. Let's resize this a little bit for more granularity along the timeline. And we can say, let's go, we don't need to pick a color, although we could do that too here. We could say pick a particular color. But let's go and set it to the initial default value and increase the red significantly. Something like, let's so, and keyframe that. So we have a keyframe at the beginning, and then we'll go to the very end of the animation, and we will reduce the red down to next to nothing, and then reduce the green a lot too, and reduce the blue as well, so it gets really dark and with a strong blue tint. Keyframe that, so we now have a couple of parameters that are changing from start to end. Let's go render that, and since we know what we're doing, you don't need to save the undo, uncheck this box and go. Now do that only if you know what you're doing, because if you actually had the parameters not exactly giving you the results you were looking for, and you don't have a undo level selected, then it will not give you a way to get back to it. So you better hope then that you have saved the prior animation as an AVI, as a dog waffle animation, or some other ways. Stored animations is pretty good ways to go. DoggyFX is a free tool, plugin that you can use to store up to 4 animations at the same time as well. So here we go now with the animation we've just created or modified. Starts from a bright red and fades away and goes into dark blue. Alright, and then something else we can do with that is perhaps also change its size, so a little bit larger initially and a little bit smaller towards the end. For that we go back to the timeline. Let's move this guy down here. Timeline editor, we can make the room and look for the timeline, the animation, the transform, and there it is. There is a transform group, and we can go to the beginning of the animation and keeping it full size, or maybe actually make it even bigger, something like so. There you go. And then towards the end of the animation, we want to make it as small as possible without revealing the edge. So we don't want to go too small because that would show the border around it. We'll basically go back to 100% roughly for original size, right? And no need for additional rotations. We can actually just click reset, and that will reset everything to the default parameter. The first keyframe is kept though, and the last keyframe is ready to go. Let's set it. So now we have a size transition where this thing is going to change across the timeline. Let's go render that. Again, I feel confident I don't need to do the undo, and at this point it will gradually go from a bright red and change the size to a smaller, appearing farther distant away, and also change the blue to fade into the dark, cold universe of blue space. And soon enough we have that done, so we can use this animation as the basis for some other funky painting and animations we can do on top. Almost done. 200 frames. Let me make this sequence a little bit shorter, just for the sake of time. I will make it under animations here. I will go to the frames and time stretch it to half the size, half the number of frames, but I will not let it lose the animation, the frames in between every other frame. I will tell it to frame blend. So that way we get a nice smooth transition, no blockiness, no jumping around. I think we're done. Let's see what the result looks like. There you go, and it goes dark. You see that size changes as well. Right, now we can still do an additional expand dynamic range to give it a little bit more contrast, and hopefully that will also help, but that's one where you probably would be better off first saving it also. Oh, this looks good. Alright, so let's see, let's save that one because we'll probably want to use that again. Do a quick save, and this one will be Q1, and done in no time. Alright, so next video we'll start painting on top of that.